So I think a lot of unhappiness and unfulfillment on all levels, all areas of life, first comes from unmet expectations. We will always have some type of expectations from our marriage, from our partners, from our children, from our professions. We set standards, right? And a lot of us don't know how to cope when those expectations are not met.
Hey, welcome to Elevate with Yoana Nin, where we empower women. I, with my guests, empower women all over the globe. And my goal is to have some really cool conversations, real conversations, non-scripted conversations about every woman's journey, their struggles, their wins, their experiences, their moves, their jobs, their family, whatever really happens in life on a day-to-day basis. And today I have Claudia with me. She's a really dear friend of mine and also an inspiration of mine because, of course, every time I interview someone, I interview women that say something to me, not only mentally, but to my heart. So welcome, Claudia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Absolutely. You look very pretty this morning.
Thank you, too.
And we also met green with green. What does green say? What does it say? Do you know what the meaning of green
Vibrant
is?
energy.
Yes. Cool women wear green. For all of you watching, both of us are originally from Romania, and our children go to the same school, and we met after school. Our children play on this beautiful green field every day after school, which I absolutely love. And we started talking, and we share so many things. Of course, coming from Romania, then of course having children, going to the same school. And I love our conversations. I love, how you speak with someone and you can just be yourself. And that's why I decided to interview Claudia, because she's just so natural, so organic, and there's absolutely no shields there protecting or like trying to pretend to be someone that we're not. So I want to bring that rawness in this conversation. Claudia, who are you? For all of you that don't know who you are.
Oh, that's such a loaded question sometimes, right?
Loaded question. Oh, who am I? Wait. It's a loaded question, but I love asking loaded questions.
I see that. When somebody asks you that question, you think about what are your identities, right? We always have multiple identities. You have a primary one, so I'm thinking I am a strong woman who is at the point in her life where I feel at peace and I feel happy, accomplished. Of course, I'm a native Romanian. That's always going to be part of me and my personality, and that's where I grew roots. But I'm completely assimilated into the American culture, so I feel American. Also, I am a mom, a friend, and what I think I am also an accomplished professional.
And the beautiful wife.
And a beautiful wife, of course, yes.
Yeah. You forgot that because you're like, I'm a mom. Hey, but you're a wife. How long have you been married?
So we've been married for almost 9 years. We met later in life, where, you talk about providence, you talk about all the puzzle pieces coming together at the right time. And we both felt that it was completely the right time for both of us to meet. And we have a beautiful story, and a beautiful life. Happy marriage so far. It has challenges like everybody else's. It's a work in progress. But he's definitely my best friend. He's the person who makes me laugh every day, every morning, every evening. He inspires me. I respect him a lot. Yeah.
And I know you have two really cute, beautiful girls. So your journey, like everyone's journey, since we've mentioned our cultures, um, how do you feel? And I know this is, again, a very loaded question, but from a perspective of you guys or you coming to the US at a certain age, meeting your soulmate fairly late in life and living here, how do you feel? Do you feel like you belong here spiritually? Do you sometimes miss home? Do you feel like it was difficult to adjust to a new culture? Tell me a little bit about that journey, the journey of the first generation immigrant to the United States.
Sure. There was an amazing opportunity that was presented to me. And that's how I came to the States with a scholarship to study. And I felt that that's an opportunity that millions of other people don't have, and I may have to make the most of it. I never thought I would come to the United States. My siblings live in Germany. I have relatives all over the Europe. I studied languages in high school. English was not one of them. It was German and French. So I always thought it would be Germany, it would be France. I love languages. I thought that that was going to be my path. And it was completely unpredicted. Meeting the sponsor, the person who had the organization, gave me the scholarship. I was not considered at all. It happened, I think, because God had it in his plan for me to come here, far away from my family, where I was sheltered from pretty much everything, being on my own, completely on my own, or was all of a sudden not really speaking the language very well, and not really comprehending it very well, not being able to communicate very well in that language. But I was very determined to make 100% of this chance that I owe it to the people who don't get it. And there were struggles. There were definitely challenges, but I managed to succeed in college. And then later on, I had a really good support system. I'm not going to leave that out because I don't think anybody can succeed without some type of support along the way. And that came from my family from far away, from the people that I met, friends that I made. I met good people all along the way who definitely helped me and shaped me. And it was definitely an adjustment to a culture that I didn't know anything about except what I saw in the movies. So not reading anything about it, not having a clue. And but I grew to like it. I pretty much became assimilated. And all my adult life was here in this country.
Mm-hmm. You were how old when you came here?
I was 20.
Yeah, kind of similar to my journey. So what type of scholarship did you get? What were you studying, if you don't mind sharing?
So it was an education scholarship. I initially came to study child psychology with the idea that one day I might go back to Romania, where this specific demographics was so neglected in terms of children with disabilities, the psychological part of it, and the helping the parents. And after about a year in college, I realized that was not a good fit. And it was more for a practical reason, not lack of interest also. But I realized in order to be a psychologist, I will have to one day have a PhD. And that was so far down the pathway. And again, I was just struggling with maintaining my scholarship and getting the funds. But I also always had a great interest in international affairs. So I changed my major, and that kind of became the platform for my career later on.
Wow, very different.
Completely different, yes.
Very different. Did you use the degree here in the US?
I did.
You did use it because neither me or my husband are using any of that here. So I know that a lot of people that come here cannot equivalate their degrees. I graduated in Romania. He actually graduated in Hungary. So he was able to do something with his master's. He's an engineer, and but still, he's not really using any of the, all of the years that you studied and you prepared for life. Then you go to culture and you're being put in a completely different scenario and a completely different workforce and, corporate America or whatnot. And then you're like, well, what do I do now? Because I'm highly qualified for this, but then, I would have to start all over again. So it's very difficult for a lot of people to start all over again, to see where they're going to go. And I think what you said, that you had great support. It can always comes like that when something's, when you kind of let yourself go and you trust that the higher force is there to guide you towards something bigger than yourself. People start appearing in your life, right? Things start happening, and contrary to popular opinion, you don't have to like struggle to get things done, but rather, you just attract. You attract the planets, you attract the people, you attract the experiences, you attract the husband, you attract the children, you attract. But it can be challenging, and it's if you don't have, finances or a house, or for me, the challenging part, I think, came more. I was never afraid of any of the like typical, how are we going to survive? How are we going to make money? I don't know. I think I'm just built like that. I don't have that fear. But it's always been, has just not being with my family, not being there close by, not sitting down at the table with them, not enjoying a meal with them, which is very strong in our culture, right? Just having intimacy that, I know, for families that, of course, are supportive of each other and that are. So I only have a sister who's also in England at the moment. So for me, after a while, I have to say, after a few years, and I came with my husband to the United States, so I didn't come on my own. We came together. I won the green card lottery. Where I'm going with this is that it's, I love how you said that, you came and you experienced, and you didn't want to kind of pass on the opportunity, considering how many people would love to have this opportunity, right? Especially people from Romania, because you go, oh, America is the land of, the dreamland, and that's how we grew up. And I was giggling inside when you said you didn't know much about America besides the movies, and I was thinking, what movies? Because I'm born in 1980s, right? So I grew up with Alice, with Beverly Hills, with like, some of the movies, and like even at this point, I'm like, wait, what movies did we see? We didn't, and I. To be honest, I don't resonate with people from the US, because, like I'm listening to, I don't know, Sarah's Hollywood knowledge or something. And seriously, I'm an actress. I studied 4 years of like intense acting and like history of Shakespeare, or like Carajale, Romanian stuff, like classics. And I come here and I'm like, I don't really know what you guys are talking about, because of course I didn't grow up here. And so, yeah, what we know about the US can be very different from many, many people, depending on where they're coming from. So I think your journey and my journey are blessed, because we are part of those women that, and that's why we're here, that can empower women and let them know, hey, regardless of, you might have difficult moments, but if you feel like you belong here, if you feel like you want to be part of something bigger than yourself and you want to make a difference, you can suck it up, right? Excuse my language. But if you're unhappy, there's always a little door that's going to open for you to go back to where your heart belongs. It's not easy to adjust. To a different culture. So going back to you, did you have, like, what were your personal obstacles, right? So that you really encountered. So besides the, going to university, having the scholarship and all of that, I'm sure that there were some personal obstacles that, especially as a first generation immigrant, you did face. I'm not necessarily talking about the, I guess, financial or maybe financial or, emotional, spiritual, anything that you could share to empower other women that are here and that are not really doing well at the moment.
So what I'm gonna share, it's relatable. It doesn't have to do with me coming from Romania and being Romanian. It has to do with me being a woman on this earth and going through some things that I think many women go through and might not be talking about. So I think one of the hardest times in my life was when I separated from my previous partner after many years of hard work. It was not an easy decision, and especially because I was by myself here in the U.S. I didn't have any family relatives, but I did have really good friends. Again, a really good support system, and it was one of those things. Obviously, you see it coming in some situations. With some incidences, they just happen and you have to deal with them. But in a way, I was mentally prepared for that. No matter how much you're mentally prepared, you still don't want that to happen. Given being an illness or something else that affects your life drastically. Then I remember being home. And I called one of my best friends, and she was on the phone with me until 2 a.m. And I cried the entire time. There were long stretches of time when she would not say a word, and she would just listen to me crying on the phone. And I remember going to bed thinking, when I'm going to wake up in 4 or 5 hours, my life will be drastically changed. And I made that mental switch. And I felt like I cried all the tears I could possibly give. I went to bed thinking, I'm closing this chapter, and tomorrow when I'm going to wake up, and it was a beautiful sunny morning, and that just brightens my mood automatically. And I woke up, and I said, that's it. I was still sad, but there was a huge sense of relief and excitement about a new beginning. And one of the ways I dealt with that, I did 2 trips. One trip with my mom and my sister. We went to Europe, to several countries. And another trip with my best friends. We went to the Bahamas. And I'm so glad that happened that way, because when I went back to that time period in my life, I don't remember the pain. I remember the joy that I experienced right after. So if I were to give advice to anybody who will have some type of negative milestone, I guess, or something difficulty that they need to go through, make sure that you set aside something that will be positive. Obviously, you might not have the finances to do a huge trip somewhere, but plan some experiences that you really enjoy. So that way, when you look back at that time period, best case scenario, you will have good feelings. Worst case scenario, you'll have mixed feelings. Yes, I was sad. That was the hardest thing that I had to go through. But I also enjoyed the immediate aftermath, because you put effort into it, and hopefully you'll have a good support system who will be there for you to support you in that journey, the new beginning.
Did you meet your ex here in the U.S.?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it was someone that was here, local, like born in the US. And it's interesting. I didn't know this about you. So thank you for sharing that and opening up and being vulnerable. It's interesting. I love that. So the moment you said that, in my coaching program, when I guide people on their journey, a big part of the program is actually it's called Notice, Rewire, and Shift. Right? So you're very aware of what's happening. then the moment you notice that thought, you rewire towards something else and you catch yourself and then you shift. But in order to do that, you gotta learn on building new habits, and new habits are being built with the help of several ways of building new habits, right? Including like working out or eating healthy, anything. But what you did there unconsciously and what you said was associating something positive to something that's not so happy in your life, and rather deciding to focus on the positive side of that experience, rather than on the negative, and then dwelling into that negativity and keep on thinking about it and just so it's a really, really great advice for all of you that are out there that are going through difficult times, because you can just pick yourself up and do something to change the energy, to go on a different route. There's really not too much in between. Just like Claudia said, she cried as many tears as she could cry, but at some point you go, how much longer am I going to cry? You can cry as long as you want. It's amazing to do that. Another big thing that I love about what she said is that people sometimes just push their feelings aside. And a lot of you, I feel, and I'm noticing, are waiting till the end of the pain, till you can't take it anymore, in order to shift and to change something in your life. And honestly, you don't need to wait till you're feeling at your worst. But if you do, you gotta cry, you gotta embrace that pain, because it's gonna find you. Grief is gonna find you no matter where you're trying to hide. It's gonna come, it's gonna find you. You're gonna have to just sit with it, allow it to just take over, and then just say, okay, I'm done. That's enough. I'm gonna move on. So Claudia is sharing very, very cool, just real life stories here, that I actually really appreciate, and I put in my coaching practice a lot. Not put, but rather use in my coaching practice a lot. So what do you think is the biggest obstacle standing, actually, in the way of women that cannot seem to feel happy about their lives?
So I think a lot of unhappiness and unfulfillment on all levels, all areas of life, first comes from unmet expectations. I don't think we can block that. We will always have some type of expectations from our marriage, from our partners, from our children, from our professions. We set standards, right? And a lot of us don't know how to cope when those expectations are not met. And I'm not talking about being flexible. That's completely different than being flexible. So let's just say I hit 40. The weight is piling up. It's hard to come off, right? I look in the mirror. I don't like what I see. Is that expectation that one day I would still look like when I was 20, versus being able to make that mental switch, seeing things from a different lens. Seeing things from the lens of my husband, who looks at me and tells me every morning that I'm beautiful the way I am. And instead of believing him, I look in the mirror and I look back at the expectation of, no, I should look skinnier. I should look toner. I should look a different way. And this is obviously a very superficial thing when I'm talking about, well, for some people, it might not be body image. But like this apply all across the board, right? You start a job and you have these expectations of the impact that you're going to make on whatever area you're working on, the work environment, the people you're going to have there. And when everything comes down little by little, brick by brick, we don't know how to rebuild and reshift in a different way. So I think what you're doing, and I think a lot of people like you are very helpful, is just helping women make that mental switch that you can reset your expectations. You can be kind on yourself. It's okay if you don't meet whatever you had in mind when you were 20 or 30 for when you're at this stage in your life. again, in all areas. We shift them. Life is too beautiful. It's too short sometimes.
Something that I think from when I was young, I realized about me. Very vulnerable moment here. And especially when I was in Hollywood, as an actress, you meet with amazingly beautiful women. And when I say amazingly beautiful, it's like, and even at this point, I turn my head to look at women on the street. Like I'm just that type of woman. I've always been extremely non-jealous. Like I never had that. However, like you said, right? After a while, you go, I'm getting old, blah, blah, blah. It's all of this mental, we're playing mental games with ourselves. It's pretty much what's happening. But that one motto, I don't know if it's a motto or saying or whatever it is, I don't even know who said it, but it says the most beautiful woman is a happy woman. To me, personally, when I see that inner glow from a woman, and I think it's valid with a man, with women, with couples, with someone, you have to admit, no matter how good or bad they might be looking in that certain moment, they just glow. They just glow. And ultimately, you could be the most amazingly beautiful woman on this planet and look like a dried plant. Or you could be a very average looking woman and look like a superstar. Because it all comes from within. And that is my goal. My goal is to empower women to see that light inside of them, and to stop playing those mental games, because every day it adds up. And it's not only about beauty that I'm talking about here. I'm talking about confidence to stand in your power, to maybe change your job, or confidence that you had to drop the relationship that you were in. It's difficult, and heck, things are difficult. What would it look like if it was easy? But to have that confidence and say, F this, I am okay, I feel enough, I'm fine, regardless of some of energy blockages maybe that can happen in your childhood, generationally, maybe gestationally when you were in your mom's. There are things that we sometimes don't know how to put a hand on because we just don't know. We don't know what we don't know. But to be able to find that power, it takes a lot of inner work. It's not an easy journey. And a lot of people, unfortunately, kind of give up on themselves. So the obstacle that you're talking about, like you said, it's a very superficial one. I guess it could be looked at as superficial, right? It's all about perspective, because when you look at what's happening in the world with the wars and the really heavy shit, excuse my language, you go, wait, what am I talking about? Wrinkles or whatever? And what is my husband actually saying? He's saying I look pretty. And maybe I should listen. Maybe I should pay a little bit more attention, because that sort of vibe, that sort of energy is something that you sometimes see even with those people that are going through hardship. Don't you see some of the children that are smiling, that are happy, that regardless of the hardship, they can find that 1% of happiness and joy in their lives? And it is freaking empowering. It is freaking humbling. It is freaking unbelievably beautiful. It's that sort of beauty that you can't put money on that. You can't put anything on that, because it just exists and nobody can say no to that. And that is, look, I'm getting goosebumps because perspective is so important. And I personally, and I share this with you, it's, I find you very beautiful. I find your aura, you're shining, you're beautiful, you're kind, you are like, I'm all, you're stable, your energy is different. So of course, again, wrinkles or whatever. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about here. It's that mindset. It's how you talk to yourself, how kind you are to yourself, how acceptant you are of of you as a whole, and how the words that you use towards yourself can really shift your reality. They can really shift your reality. And the words that you use with yourself can shift your children's reality and will shift your children's reality. We all know this. How you speak to them, what you say, what they hear you speak in a conversation, over a phone, with your spouse. And so let's embrace who we are. And let's take the obstacles and the struggles that we are, and let's really spend some time and think, are these really real struggles, or are we made up struggles? Are they in our heads? Are they real? Are they really real? Right? And to end this, you can change. You can change the way you look. You can change the way you feel. And in order to change the way you look, if it's looks that we're concerned about or like insecurities, hey, go to the gym, work out, do something that can change the way you look like from inside, so that you always have that inner resource to change at any time. It's going to take 6 months or a year, whatever. But once you make that internal shift, it's going to give you the power to then wake up in 3 years from now, when again you're going to feel like you're not looking the best or whatever, to say, oh, I did this shift before, I'm going to do it again. So that is the real empowerment. It's not some sort of looking for external resources. And so thank you for sharing that. The next question is, do you think that many women that are overachievers, right? I think both of us are overachievers, both me and you. Do you think that they fear success? And also, what does success really mean to you?
I don't think the overachievers per se fear success, because that's what they strive for, right? I think other people do, just because they think in terms of success is going to come at a cost. And what is that cost? That's their focus. Okay. And of course you can talk about different personalities. Planners tend to think more in terms of consequences, even if they're positive. How do I readjust to anything that might be good or bad that comes with this goal if I accomplish it? So I think it varies. Overachievers are not afraid of success. They go for it. They deal with it, and they might want more. I think that's where the danger is. Where do you stop? Where is it gonna be enough? Where you draw the line where you say, I do feel I accomplished what I set my mind to. I'm happy. I don't need to move any further than this. At least not in this area. You might be switching to a different career. You might be switching to a different hobby. Whatever else, whatever other goal you can set for yourself. But I think it's actually related to what you were saying in terms of the overachievers. You accomplish this set goal, then you want more. You set another one. But where does this come from? Like, where is this desire of accomplish more and more all the time? Where does it come from? Like, what sparks it? Is it because you see your self-worth in that way? Like, you're worthy, you're valuable only if you achieve X, Y, and Z, and that's where you strive consistently to do that. Is it from the way you're perceived? So that's the external. Like, I'm not going to value myself. I'm not going to consider myself accomplished unless I do X, Y, and Z, because that's what's expected from me by my family, by my friends, by the society, the community, you name it. But success is a good thing. And we need to look at it as a good thing. Something positive. There's a fine line that can become negative again, depending on the price that you have to pay for it. But I think it's something positive. As long as you are very secure in your self-worth, that you don't make your self-worth dependent on that, I think it can be a very positive thing.
So what does it mean to you to be successful?
I think successful actually is looking back and having no regrets. And I'm not talking about not making mistakes. Making mistakes, learning your lessons and moving on. And at the end of that journey, having no regrets, I think that's success in all areas.
That's beautiful. And do you have a favorite quote? Anything that we can leave at the end of our...
There are obviously a lot of quotes that I like, but in terms of a motto for my life, the golden rule, you can be that. Do unto others what you want others to be unto you. Do unto you. Like, what would this world be if we treat everybody with the respect, admiration, patience, and kindness that we want to be treated with? Be a better world.
I don't even know. It's getting so difficult to even picture that. Isn't that interesting? To picture a world where really everyone is working in harmony and very, very, very sad to even say that. And as much as I can imagine that, looking at what's happening right now in the world, and thank God I'm not watching the news, because I just had a conversation with Phoenix in the car about that. And with my daughter, it's like crazy. You watch all of the social media and it's all about, and my daughter said, Mom, why are they always showing all these crimes, all these negative things? And I said, well, who would even listen if it was all beautiful and good morning, everyone, the stars are beautiful, the sky is beautiful, everything's all good, nobody would listen anymore. So absolutely a really, really good way of looking at life and also living the life, because you are definitely a model of that. I know that for a fact, because I know you well enough to know that you're living what you're talking. So I appreciate your time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being an inspiration to me in our day-to-day meetings and conversations at school. And thank you for accepting to be part of my journey. I know for a fact that this is going to be a great interview that your girls are going to watch, in 15, 20 years and say, oh my God, look at my mom. That's always been my dream. I wrote my books and I do everything that I do to leave these beautiful memories for my kids. Because you can't, now we're watching, we're looking at our pictures from when we were children from Romania, but they're going to be looking at all of these videos and they're going to be listening to this and say, wow, what a beautiful mom we have and what a beautiful interview. So as long as I touch their hearts and your heart, for whenever that's going to happen, I've achieved my mission for in my life. So I'm grateful for you, for your time, for your friendship, and for all of you girls that are watching, beautiful women that are watching. Please comment, subscribe if this was even 1%, if it touched you, if Claudia's story touched you, if you are a first-generation immigrant that's here from whatever country that maybe needs to talk to someone and you don't have that support system, feel free to call me. Feel free to call Claudia. Just connect with me. Comment below. Feel free to call and say, hey, I want to be interviewed on this platform as well. I need some support. Do not be afraid to ask for help. A lot of women are in fear of asking for help. If it's ego, whatever the situation is, it's not worth it. You need to be able to just reach out to us, to someone, and ask for help if you need it. So hopefully through my channel, I will give you that opportunity. So Claudia, I love you.
I love you too. Thank you for being here.
Yes, absolutely. And I will potentially see you, depending on my appointments, today at school.
All right.
Bye, guys.